You ever read something and even if it was short, you want to demand that the author give you your time back? That happened to me recently. Well, I recently discussed a novella that I read and I thought it was very bad. It was very bad. And so I thought to mention in this video that I liked a different novella by Alex E. Harrow, which was A Spindle Splintered. Well, a few of you came in the comments and were like, read Six Deaths of the Saint. And I was like, okay, stop yelling, I will. Six Deaths of a Saint, try saying that 6 times fast, was a very well-received short story in a collection of short stories put out by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon just create an anthology, slap all of these short stories into one book? I don't know. I don't know why they choose to do the things that they do. This collection is called Into Shadow, and today I'm reviewing 3 of these stories in the Into Shadow collection, despite me rarely reading short stories ever. I read like The Lottery in high school. Today's review, I actually had to learn more about short stories in order to review this book. So I read 3, we're gonna talk about them. One of them was particularly bad. And for today's review, I actually had to learn more about short stories in order to do this review because I struggled with how to talk about what went wrong and right, but definitely what went wrong. And thankfully this video is sponsored by Skillshare, and Skillshare has a great class from author Yi-Yoon Lee called Writing Character-Driven Short Stories. And the purpose of this class is to develop the ability to, in a short story, achieve the effect that you would like to have on your audience, which is very difficult to do when you're writing in such a short amount of words. Yi-Yoon Lee says that short stories, these snapshot stories, are like taking a piece of a cake. If you consider like a full-length novel a cake, then a story is just a piece of that cake. But that doesn't mean that the story is lesser or is less good than the whole cake. You can still experience the essence of the story within just that piece. And that's the challenge with writing a short story, is you are writing a slice of a life, but still trying to show the whole essence of that life. She gives examples of how even within short stories that are like 1 page long, for instance, she mentioned The Shoe, readers are given enough to understand the entire dynamic between these 2 characters whose relationship is falling out without ever seeing this relationship in its entirety, only seeing this argument between them. Yi-Yoon Lee says that short stories are an exercise in writing efficiently and effectively in order to give your readers this full essence without giving a full novel. I'll be using what I learned from this class in order to help me review these books, and the things that I learned from the class were things like how to develop fictional characters in a short amount of time, transforming just situations into fully realized stories, and making the effect that you want upon your readers. So that's the metric I'm going to use, Yi-Yoon Lee's teachings, in order to review these short stories. What went very wrong and what went very right. And if you don't know, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. They have a wide variety of topics, everything from graphic design, music, marketing, productivity, illustration, and yes, writing. They have tons of writing classes, tons of authors on there teaching classes like Saba Tahir, Dianya Jose Older, and Kirsten White. Skillshare is an online platform and it has stackable lessons so that members can learn at their own pace no matter what your current skill level is. So whether you want to learn the basics of digital art, or how to start your own photography business, or how to finish that manuscript that you've been working on for forever, Skillshare has classes that can take you from beginner to pro with a supportive community that you can chat with and work on your projects with. This summer, invest in yourself and in your goals by starting a learning journey with Skillshare, or take your side hustle to the next level, or just hone your craft for your hobby, or again, finish that manuscript. What are you waiting for? The first 500 people to click that link down below in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So whatever your hobby is or your side hustle is, click that link below and get started today honing your craft. And thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Let me tell you a little bit about this collection Into Shadow, because I think that it might interest quite a lot of you, because many of you have recommended authors that are in this collection to me. So the collection again is called Into Shadow, and it has stories from Alex E. Harrow, Tomi Adeyemi, Lev Grossman, Nhi Vo, Tamsin Muir, Veronica G. Henry, and Garth Nix. How many times have people in my comments been like, when are you going to read Sabriel? I'm getting to it. And shout out to Andy for sending it to me. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read Amazon's collections. They have several collections. This is the one that I'm starting with, and you can read them on Kindle Unlimited with audio narration, like an actual audiobook narrator narrates them, and you can tandem read them at the same time, which is how I did this. The collection is described as where the truth lies. Some truths are carefully concealed, others merely forgotten. In this spellbinding collection, 7 acclaimed fantasy authors create characters characters who venture into the depths where others fear to tread. But when forbidden knowledge is the ultimate power, how far can they go before the darkness consumes them? I just think it's so, like, who had to write a synopsis for 7 different stories? Who had to do that? Or was that the prompt? Because it's a little vague, and it's supposed to cover 7 stories, which is wow. Okay, so I read 3 of these stories. First one I read was The Garden by Tomi Adeyemi, who also wrote Children of Blood and Bone, 6 Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow, which a bunch of you were like, please read it, and Undercover by Tamsin Muir. I have read from 2 of these authors before. I did start Children of Blood and Bone, then I didn't finish it because my hold at the library ran out, and then I never picked it back up. I'm not against reading it. I will probably pick it up eventually, but unfortunately, Tomi Adeyemi's story was not my favorite, and I did not like it. According to Yi Yoon Lee, a short story is not a set number, but 5 to 20 pages is called a short story, and 20 to 80 pages is called a long story, 80 to 150 for a novella, and 150 or more for a novel. I thought that short stories were categorized as anything under 120 pages. Wait, and that overlaps with novella. That's what I thought that we were doing. I don't know things. Again, I did use this class because I don't know how to review things that are shorter, that are not just like actually novellas. I don't really review short stories. There are a bunch of novellas I really like. Again, I like Alex E. Harrow's. I also really like Into the Drowning Wood. Is that it? Am I mixing up titles? The guy, the face tree, this one, I really, really like that book. I like novellas. I read novellas. I'm interested in novellas. However, I'm not quite reading a lot of short stories. Again, I don't remember the last short story I read before I decided to take on this project. If you have a short story that is your favorite, that isn't just one you read in high school like me, leave it down below. So I had to learn like what makes a short story like a quality short story, and you know, get that verbiage, get that language in order to like understand the makeup of them in order to review them. So what Yi Yoon Lee said was that you really have to use your writing tools efficiently for a short story because you are on such a limited time. There's really not a ton of room to play here. So how are we writing? Third, first, second? Are we getting ambitious and doing second? Second is when you're talking, like the narrator is talking to you. So you open up the book and it says you as if the book is speaking to you directly. Another thing is you have to think about what's the best use of tone here. Is it trying to be funny? Are you going for dark? Are you going for dark humor? One idea that Yi Yoon had was to write several drafts just about the main character, like a profile makeup, which I think is super helpful. Like Yi Yoon gives an example where if you're just writing it like just a dating profile, that dating profile is going to look completely different when the main character writes it themselves versus when their best friend writes their own main character profile. So getting that profile of your main character down can really help you in cultivating your story. Another thing to keep in mind is writing a situation versus a story. And I think that in our first piece here, that is really what went wrong with In the Garden by Tomi Adeyemi. I think that that's where we really missed the mark here, is that we don't have a good sense of who our main character is, and we also don't have anything more than just a situation. It's not a story. It's a situation.
All right, we got a situation.
Oh God, no, not the Jersey Shore reference. The Garden by Tomi Adeyemi got 1.5 stars from me. It is 33 pages and it is described as a dreamlike short story, and I would say yes, that is what it feels like. It feels like a dream, but it feels like one of those like transitionary dreams where you're transitioning from one dream to another and nothing makes sense because you have some overlap from both dreams and you're just in this very weird spot. The synopsis says 15 years ago, Lena's mother, Juliana, went searching for a mythical place called the Garden and never returned. Determined to learn the truth about what happened, Lena travels to Brazil to search for the hidden realm, with Juliana's journal and a local tour guide leading the way. But Lena soon begins to wonder if she's looking for answers or if what she wants truly is to find herself. Oh no, not the dyslexia. I'm going to spoil this story, which isn't hard because nothing happened. I think it was nice to see Brazil mentioned. That's certainly cool. And I think that I did run it by Lou. I think that this did better in its Brazil mentions than The Deer and the Dragon. So certainly it was nice to see Brazil mentioned, and even Belo Horizonte was referenced specifically. Belo Horizonte, que onde mora minha melhor amiga Luisa. I think I said it right. I think I might have mixed up the sentence structure there. Sorry about that. Anyway, this was a greatly disappointing read. Brazil was the best part. It has poetry poetry interwoven, and that poetry unfortunately was both the best part and yet did not make a lasting impact. I remember it being there and being like, well, that's nice. I don't remember specifically what it said, which is a shame. This felt like a situation.
All right, we got a situation.
A collection of ideas rather than a story. I don't know what the point of this snapshot was, not what was trying to be conveyed or whom I was trying to get to know here. I don't know what theme was explored. I don't even know what effect it was supposed to have on me. What is the conflict? What is the like? You even ask these questions. Like you need to ask these questions of your short story, and you really have to again use your time very effectively and efficiently. What is the conflict? What are the consequences of the situation that the reader knows is going to happen? Who was this person that I spent several pages with? I don't know. And part of this is that we are doing a mysterious situation versus like an everyday experience. So we have a young woman assumedly dropping her whole life to travel to Brazil to try to find out what happened to her mother, who went looking for this place called the Garden. And she brings with her this very mysterious journal. So she goes, she brings the journal, she meets the tour guide, they talk a bunch, she gets to where she knows the garden is going to be, he leaves her there, they say goodbye, the end. That is the short story. And listen, I can take that we weren't really going to the garden, it was about the journey. We didn't do anything on the journey either. I can especially dig a journey in a short story because, as Yiyun says, extraordinary situations can reveal things about a person that like everyday situations won't. So we're on this journey in Brazil looking for this mythical garden, and the journey is the point. Okay, that's still extraordinary circumstances. Let's reveal things about this character. Do we do that here? No. Do we reveal who Lena is at her core by putting her on this journey? No. We reveal actually quite much nothing. We reveal nothing. In fact, at one point, Lena is talking about stuff with her guide, and all of a sudden she says she hates everybody. And he's like, do you hate me? And she's like, I hate everybody. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Did I miss a page? Like, that's what I was thinking. I'm going back. I'm like, I can't have missed a page, right? Am I supposed to know this about Leda already, that she's so jaded she hates everybody and not just like she's miffed that her mom went missing and sort of abandoned her? Is this important in its reveal now for the rest of the time that we spend with Leda? No. And it's not just that I don't understand Leda, I don't understand this story's smaller details. Like this mysterious journal that she carries around and she believes is cursed, and she asks her guide about, do you believe an object can be cursed? The focus is put on conversations between her and her guide as he is guiding her towards where she's going to go off into the rainforest and then go look for this mythical garden. And the focus just being on these conversations that don't amount to anything was so confusing. If we had simply made the one narrative choice, the difference to not focus on the conversations between her and the guide, interspersed with some poetry that didn't make a lasting impact, then I think that if we had just made like some little narrative choice differences here, we could have had something special. Because again, the other stories that I read were something special. I wish that the mysterious journal was the entity that she was having these conversations with. I wish that the guide was not there and she was having conversations with this mysterious journal. And I wish that we had spent those pages on this journey having these conversations with this journal where she's trying to find these things about, like, maybe the journal convinced her mom to go to the garden, and maybe now she's trying to bargain with this journal, like, why did my mom abandon me? Give me your secrets. And the journal and the journey combined are just a way for us to learn about Leda and the effect that her mom abandoning her to go to this garden had on her, and just in general have that conversation about the effect on daughters abandoned by their mothers and the desperate need that we have to literally chase after them. Like across the world, we would chase after our mom to not only find them, but in finding them, find a piece of ourselves that was lost. Unfortunately, what we got was Leda goes to Brazil. She meets up with her guide. She's very nervous. Her mom has abandoned her. They talk about how she has a cursed journal. They talk about how she hates everybody. They have weird conversations. She goes to the rainforest. She leaves for the garden. They say goodbye, the end. And I don't want you to forget, there was poetry along the way, but for what? And the writing on a line level was just fine. Like, I don't have any big takeaways from it. I also don't have any big complaints about any, weird lines, but this should have made an impact, and it made an impact of disappointment. So 1.5 stars, not an enjoyable short story experience whatsoever. The next one I read because everyone was, again, like, you have to read 6 Deaths of the Saint. This is 31 pages, making it 2 pages shorter than The Garden by Tomi Adeyemi, and yet with 2 less pages, we were more effective in storytelling here. This really used its time and its narrative so efficiently and effectively. Let me give you the synopsis, and again, this is going to be pretty spoilery. I won't spoil the very end, I don't think. Let's just say that this whole video is going to be spoilery. The Saint of War spares the life of a servant girl so she can fulfill her destiny as the king kingdom's greatest warrior. Always mindful of the debt she owes, the girl finds her worth as a weapon in the hand of the prince. Her victories make him a king, then an emperor. The bards sing her name and her enemies fear it, but the war never ends and the cost keeps rising. How many times will she repeat her own story? So this starts out, and the first line is, you were a child the first time the saint of war came to you. Second person? Nuh-uh, nuh-uh. Listen, second person is a bold and particular choice when you are speaking to the audience as if the audience is the main character. That is a whole experience, and you really have to know what you're doing. And I am just so delighted to tell you that Alex E. Harrow knows how to do it. So this, as it says, starts out with a girl, and it says, you thought you would probably die soon, and then the saint came. She didn't seem much like the saints in the songs. Her lips were sunken where her teeth were missing. Her skin was puckered with old scars. I am the saint of war. And you lost a great deal of faith in the bard songs. Rise, she said, your kingdom needs you. You rose. Your joints grated, and your vision spun in sickening lurches, but you rose because she was a saint, and you were nothing because no one had ever needed you before. So here's the thing about that. The fact that we made the choice to say it in second hurts more because I did read it as if she were talking about me and it hurt me. No one had ever needed you before. Ouch! Ow! Go, the saint said. He waits for you. So this girl was dying. The only person who cared about her was this little boy, and you, me, I, we'll get there. She was dying, and then the saint came and told her to rise, and she goes and talks to the prince outside. He only smiled down at you. He wore an expression you had never seen before, an avid, scorching hunger which you thought must be love. And so she goes on to do all of these terrible things for him because this must be love. For him to revere her and send her to do these tasks of cutting people down, killing all these people so that he can rise, that must be love. And you found you did not mind being a devil so long as you were his. Ow! You were a young woman the second time the saint of war came to you, and you were about to die again. It would not be a quick death. For 7 years, the prince and all his knights had trained you with sword and spear and shield. And the saint of death, whenever she comes to her, will tell her in the battlefield, like, cut this guy down here. Like, she knows before it happens. And she tells her, make sure that your red hair is out so that they can see it, so that they know that it's you, because you want them to know who it is and to fear you. And you want your name to be remembered, because again, that's another form of love. Because again, this was a poor, familyless child who was dying and was brought up by this saint of death and the prince into acclaim in order to make this prince into essentially an emperor. And the only person who says, hey, this might be a bit much to her is her squire, who is, I think also, it was a little confusing, that's why it's got a 4.5 instead of a 5. I think it was also the boy in the beginning who she was kind to as a child. One day she is like beaten down, broken, bloody, and she's dying, and the king tells her to look into the this reflecting pool, and she does, and she sees herself, and she realizes that she's been living this circular existence over and over again, dying and being brought back. And the saint of death, it says, you saw yourself as an unholy triptych, 3 into 1, 1 into 3, she the girl, you the devil, and I the saint. And you understood finally that there had never truly been a she or a you, but only a lonely, terrible I. Oh my God, whole body chills. Whole body. Are you kidding me? She's asked repeatedly throughout her life by the squire and by people she's killed, is it worth it? Is it worth doing this for this prince, this king, this emperor, this god? Is it worth it? Everything you're doing, killing everybody in sight, even children, is it worth it? And at first this makes her angry, and eventually it makes her sad, and eventually it makes her at peace. 4.5 stars for absolutely fucking brilliant. You know, I might bump this up to a 5 actually, just thinking back on it. The question of like, what does it mean to be loved versus what does it mean to be used? The question of what will you do to be loved, and will it be worth it, and by whom will you be loved, and how? These are explored with so much depth in such a short amount of time, 31 pages. I did find, again, some of it a little confusing, which did in the moment damper my enjoyment because I felt like it was supposed to be hitting harder than it was, and I was asking myself questions. Then again, I'm not very smart, so you can take that with a grain of salt. However, this I can tell is a brilliant valiant piece of work. I did get goosebumps. It's amazing. And the last one I read was a motherfucking 5. It's by Tamsin Muir, who also wrote Gideon the Ninth, which is another book that I struggle to understand but did enjoy very much. This one is 59 pages, which makes it longer than the other two, but still a very quick read. But those extra pages really did allow us to do so much. And I just ate this up. Speaking of eating this up, trigger warning for cannibalism and gore. So I saved this for last in case you want to dip, that's fine. Cannibalism and gore is about to happen. Here's the synopsis. A fresh-faced newcomer arrives in an isolated, gang-run town and soon finds herself taking a job nobody else wants, bodyguard to a ghoul. Not just your average mindless, half-rotted shuffler, though. Lucille is a dancer who can still put on her own lipstick and whose shows are half burlesque, half gladiator match. But the stranger is no stranger to this particular ghoul. Both women are undercover in their own way, and both have something to lose if their connection comes to light. This, again, will be spoilery, so if you don't want spoilers, please know this. If you can handle gore, some cannibalism, you should read this. There is ghouls and cannibals, yes, but there's lesbians, there's revenge, there's organized crime, there's twist. It's so good. Please read. It's only 59 pages. It'll take you like an hour. But if you're here for spoilers, let's get into it. This was such a bonkers reading experience. I'm just going to dump on you what happened. Okay. Amy Starr goes to work for a organized crime boss named the Widower. And each chapter is named different things like the Widower, the Wife, the Gangster. And every time I was like, that just naming it that was just such a good, just ignore me. I'm gonna gush for like incoherent blah. Okay, so Amy Starr goes to work for the Widower, and the Widower says, yes, I'm gonna give you a job, and you came highly recommended by this other organized crime boss. And she was like, yes, I was recommended by him. You are correct. And Amy's kind of weird, and you're like, I'm just gonna disregard. Maybe she's just a weird person. I was wrong. So she goes to work for the Widower. The Widower gives her this job being the bodyguard for Lucille, who is a ghoul. Now, you don't really learn a ton of ghouls. You pick up on context clues, and I think that this was done very effectively for what it is. Again, this is a slice of a cake, not the whole cake, but it's enough that I completely understand what's going on. This is a world where you have cops, you have organized crime bosses, you have ghouls, and ghouls are people who eat people, and they're sort of zombies. So Lucille is the ghoul that Amy Starr is in charge of being the bodyguard for, and Lucille lives in sort of like this underground area at the Widower's complex. The Widower runs like a bar, and she has people come in and do band and dancing. Lucille is a dancer for her. And the first time Amy Starr sees Lucille, a frilled lizard comes on stage, and Lucille attacks it and eats this frilled lizard the size of, I believe it was described as the size of a pony. So, yeah. So she's put in charge of this. So she gets the job. She goes back to her new room, and she calls her super, because Amy Starr is an undercover cop. And she's told, hey, if this is like a stage 4 ghoul, if they're talking, you need to call in the cavalry, and we're going to bomb the shit out of the place. And she's like, no, it's not a ghoul that's talking, surely not. But you know that it is. And you're like, wait, surely not. Why would she lie to her super? And her super also asks, hey, by the way, any sight of West, the last undercover cop that they sent in there? And she's like, nope, no sign of West. Haven't seen him. She learns that the Widower was married. She also learns that Lucille was married. Lucille has a ring on it that says Lucille loves Leslie forever, or something like that. And Lucille, the first time that Amy meets her, Lucille says Amy's name to Amy, our main character. And Amy just sort of glosses over this, and you, the main character, you, the reader, are like, why did the main character gloss over that? Maybe she's just ghoul behavior. I don't know, ghouls. Ghouls will be ghouls. I don't know. Maybe that's just how they are. So so then eventually another crime boss gets into a tiff with the Widower, and the Widower's like, I won't be taking that. So she invites the crime boss over and all of his men, and has Lucille come out on the dance floor, and then fucking releases Lucille, and she just eviscerates the entire outfit of that particular criminal. And like, as she's eating the main guy, the bad guy, she's eating him, and Lucille's like, and the Widower says something to Lucille, and Lucille's like eating his body, and she's like, oh, fuck off. And it's dark humor, and it's really good. And I was like, man, this feels like Gideon the Ninth. Oh, because it was written by the same person. I'm really stupid. So Well, then she comes to realize that the widower's middle name is Leslie. And she's like, are you telling me that Lucille is your wife who died? By the way, did you know that Lucille was an undercover cop? And I'm like, hold on, I'm sorry. Can you just reverse really quick? Yeah, Lucille was Detective West, who was in Undercover. And she's like, Amy, we knew each other, Amy, we knew each other. And Amy's just glossing over that fact. And Amy asks, by the way, why did you do this to your wife? And the widower says, well, I actually didn't do it to my wife. My wife did it to herself. She injected herself with ghoul shit right into her, back there, and she made herself a ghoul. And she's like, did you know that she was an undercover cop? And she says, no, I didn't know she was an undercover cop, and I fucking hate cops. And Amy's like, well, I'm not a cop. And it's like, Amy, you are a cop though. You're very weird though. And the thing about Amy is that she again worked for this like prior criminal who gave her a recommendation to work for the widower. And the widower was like, by the way, did you know that everybody at your last job is dead? They like found all of them dead. And Amy's like, I don't know anything about that. And Amy, by the way, wears gloves, and she talks about her hands feeling very itchy sometimes, and you're like, what's going on there? Is it a rash or what are we doing? So you have these questions and you feel like they're not like super pertinent at the moment until the ending. And she says, the guy at my last job, his wife, we had an issue. And the widower's like, oh, because you were like a lover girl and you were like really into her. And she was like, no, she didn't like me. She wanted me out of there because she saw my hands. And I was like, what's up with the hands? What's happening with your hands? So she wears gloves and you don't know. And then one day, she decides enough is enough. And she goes and talks to Lucille. It's after Lucille eats that other guy. She like cuts that guy out of Lucille's body, puts it down, like puts all of the stuff, because ghouls can heal, I guess, just puts all of his body parts that Lucille ate out of the inside of Lucille and down the drain. And she's like, you need to start learning to be hungry. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Well, we're doing some shit. Kills the widower, kills two of the widower's guys, and then Amy reveals herself to be a ghoul and eats part of one of the guys. And she's like, I'm gonna need a snack in order to get through what I'm about to do. She takes Lucille, she kills a bunch of people. She takes Lucille and she's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. You need to start learning to be hungry. And by the way, I know that you think that I'm Amy. I'm not Amy. I took over Amy's body. The reason why I wear gloves is because when I put the people's skin on, it doesn't fit right on the hands. It's so gross. It's so good. She was never Amy. She was undercover as Amy, an undercover cop, going to see the undercover cop. And that's why she didn't recognize that was West, because she didn't know her. So Lucille, you're wondering why Amy knows why Amy doesn't know Lucille, but Lucille knows her. It's because Lucille is Detective West, and Amy didn't recognize her, and Lucille was like, you look like Amy, but you don't smell like Amy. And I'm like, oh my God. And so she keeps calling her Amy, and Amy's like, I am not Amy. And Lucille says, you are what you eat. If you would have told me that line was in this book with all I know about it is it's like lesbians, that's not what I thought that line would be used for. So Amy sets Lucille free and she's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna walk off into the forest, and I ate enough. I told Lucille, you need to learn how to be hungry. That's how I walk through the world. That's how we need to deal with ghouls. We just teach each other to be hungry and only eat when we absolutely need to. And so she's like, all right, Lucille, bye. I'm gonna walk off into the forest. She leaves Lucille, she starts walking, and then at the end it says it ends with, and she hears someone walking behind her. So you don't know, and this is the fun, is you don't know if it's Lucille coming to follow her and if they're gonna be a couple, or if it's something terrible and dastardly and something's coming to hunt her. You don't know, it could go either way. I kind of hope it's the first, but I also kind of hope it's the last, just because I love the tension. Oh my God, that was a 5. I never saw that shit coming. That was absolutely fucking bonkers. So this was a fun experiment and learning experience to read these 3. I like to do a variety here on this channel, and I thought, like, let's try short stories, and I think that this worked out really great for me personally, because I got 2 really fantastic short stories and 1 bummer. I'm absolutely going to continue the rest of the collection. I have 4 left in the Into Shadow collection, and then I plan to read the other collections, because I think 2 of them have a short story from Silvia Moreno Garcia, and then 1 of them has a short story from Carmen Maria Machado, and I really liked, like Carmen Maria Machado is an example of an author who writes short stories who really knows how to, again, use time effectively and efficiently in order to convey like what she wants upon her reader. If you haven't read Her Body and Other Parties, this is like a short story collection from Machado herself. And some of these have still stayed with me, especially the first one with the ribbon. Yeah, if you know, you know. So I have high hopes for that one. And let me know if you have read any of the short story collections from Amazon or any of these specifically that I talked about today. And if you haven't read them already, which one are you most interested in trying out? If you made it this far in the video, you can leave a pen emoji down below for writing, okay? I need a snack. Okay, not the kind of snack that Amy and Lucille were eating, but a snack. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments and questions down below. I will see you next time. Bye. Before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Ashley H, Astrid P, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Chris, Choco's Trash for Japanese Mysteries and Thrillers, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, Galaxy Bot, Jess, John E, Julie D, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Kiara, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lady Chips, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Mommy Zombie, Alice, Panoramic Demon, God, that's a good one, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Sad Witch Bree, Scarlet, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph B, 2 Orbit, Urchin Audrey, White Raven 13, Zorvictia, Your Bad Little Dragon, Peggy, that is a crime, and Chai Guy. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. And last but not least, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are Alejandra, Alicia, the Bane of Book Banners. Ha! I love that. I love that very much. Althea, Amanda D, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe, Bookish Brain Rot, Bookish by Geneva, Bree, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, CJ, Clover's Mom, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Darius, Danielle, Darren, Desiree, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, E.T. Cosgrove, Ebby, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Other Emma, Aaron, Ezra Moon, Fiona, Gadarn, Garrett, Hannah C, Harpy Kuro, Haley G, Ilianaka, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Justice Sue, Jill, Jillian R, Jojo Bookish, Kat, Catherine, Katie, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, KMTB, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lauren, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lindsay, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Megan, Malara, Mentally Unwell, Same, May, Mockingbird Nation, Molly, James, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Ronnie, Rosie, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Saintbringer. Oh, Saintbringer is a great name. Oh my gosh. That belongs in a fantasy book. Sorry. Saki Alume, Samantha, Sammy C, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sean, Super Evil Sam, Tay, Talia, Tiana, Trashcan Teddy, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.